Hello, and welcome back to the European Herpetoculture Podcast. This is the first episode of 2025, and we want to start off with a special, interesting guest. Our guest today is Markus Monzel. Markus was the president of the DGHT for 9 years. The DGHT is the German Society for Herpetology and Herpetoculture. And with that, the DGHT is one of the largest and most influential organizations dedicated to the study and conservation of amphibians and reptiles in Europe. We hope you enjoy this episode as much as we did, and we also want to thank Markus for his time and his dedication.
We're also very excited. When we started the podcast, we were, of course, talking about, who will be a cool guest and what would be a good representation of European herpetoculture and all that stuff. And we were definitely like, oh, so cool. Yeah, organizations that have a big history in herpetoculture, and DGHT is definitely one of those societies.
Yes,
I feel
without
like.
any doubt,
Yeah.
we are now in the 106th year of existence.
Wow.
Not as DGHT, but as Salamander and DGHT. And this year we had our 60 years meeting in Bonn as under the name DGHT, but which is maybe important that we did not have any break in the Second World War, when many organizations had a break and have reformed, reunited, but we did not have that break, so that we have a 106-year-old history.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, Till, do you want to get it started?
Yeah, of course. I think we also can leave this in because this is very interesting. Okay, let's go. Welcome, lovely listeners, to another episode of the European Herpetoculture Podcast. Today, my lovely co-host is Stefan. Welcome back. My name is Till, and we have a fantastic guest that I'm very happy to introduce. Dr. Markus Monzel is with us. Welcome, Markus. Nice to have you on the podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thanks a lot. For those who don't already know you, could you give us like a little introduction about yourself? So, who are you? What are you doing?
Yes, I am with great pleasure. I have been president of the German Herpetological Society and Herpetoculture from 2015 until September of that year. So I'm a little bit retired now from this duty, but I think my beginnings, my zoological beginnings lie in a complete other animal group, which is kind of a secret, but I will confess it now. My beginnings were, in fact, in entomology, where I was very interested, and I am still extremely interested in insects and especially in arachnids. So I call myself not only a herpetologist, but also an arachnologist. And I came to herpetology by my supervisor, by Professor Paul Müller, who had worked in the 1960s in South America. And I always wanted to do some research in South America. I was fascinated of that continent, and so it came that I started a project in the 1990s in Central America, and then I made my PhD on another issue in South America, in southern Brazil, and that was in very, very short terms my herpetological or scientific way so far. In my normal life, I'm a representative of the local office for nature protection, which what you call at the national level environmental protection agency, for example, but at the local level of my state. And yes, that's what I'm doing. I have been keeping reptiles and amphibians, but in fact, these days it's not very much anymore. But I would like to start again, and especially with snakes, like Stefan told me to, in venomous snakes,
Ah,
because I made my PhD on phylogenetics and evolutionary history of the genus Botrops of the South American land-sided pit vipers. So I'm really very interested in that group, but above this in any other group that is ecologically interesting, like for example anoles. This was my beginning in the project in Central America. The little anoles that are really very good indicators of ecology of evolution. You can do almost anything with anoles. So these little sympathetic animals are always in my heart.
very
Cool.
understandable. In there lives a little anole
Very nice.
trinitatis
Very
male.
nice.
Yeah. So what animals do you keep right now? You said you still have a little few left.
I have to admit, only one gecko, one leopard gecko is left from I think a fairly large collection of snakes and lizards that I have been keeping some years ago. That's due to my work in DGHT. I had to travel a lot, also at the weekends, so I reduced the animals to yes, to restart again after that work.
Okay, cool.
Funny to hear
Well,
that it's such a classic species to keep.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Yeah.
yes. So, yeah, where to begin? Within 9 years of being the president of the DGHT, I can imagine you have like endless stories to tell. But how did you become the president? How was your journey within the community?
This was a very nice story. Uh, in fact, DGHT was looking for a new president after the presidency of Peter Buchert, the former president before me, and so my good friend and our advisor Heiko Werning asked me just in his kitchen, "Do you want to do it?" And I said, "No, impossible. It's absolutely impossible to do that." And many years ago, other friends told me, "Oh, president of DGHT, that's a full-time job. You can do it only when you are a student or when you're retired. So it's not anything for a for a human being at mid-age who has a normal profession to do and so on." So and some months later, I was asked again because many people told that many, not many, but the few candidates told, "Oh, I can do it. I cannot do it because of that or that reason." And I thought about what could you imagine to become a president. This is a very respectful position because I knew the presidents like Ingo Paula, who impressed me very much when I became member of DGHT in 1996. He was the president, and I really um, I really admired him, and so this was for me. I could not imagine that I would one day be at his position. But then I found a very good team, and I knew Axel Queth, who was already the chairman of DGHT and is still now. And so he asked me again, and we met with the former president and some interested members to build the chair board. And so I became president. I was elected in Lis in Switzerland at the annual meeting in 2015. And then we began to work. And yes, I dedicated really very much of my free time, the weekends, for DGHT, because I thought you have to make it right. You have to prove that they have chosen the right candidate. Uh, in looking at the big history of that organization, I just had to yes, I could not fail. I had to do some good things, and I think it was so important to have a very good team at my side of vice president and advisors for different areas of herpetology, of public relations, political advisor, and so on. So I think only with that background, I could do the work in general. That
Yeah.
was the beginning of the
And
story.
so, okay, how does the job as the president of the DGHT look like? Because I can imagine not every weekend or everything you do is the same. What are your typical tasks you have when you are the president there?
A typical task is to be is to turn into like a cell into a mitotic separation that you can be everywhere at any time. You have to be omnipresent. That's the ideal character of President of DGHT. But no, but I think it's the most important thing is um, to be a good link to your members, to have a good contact to the members, to the different regional and city groups, and to our specialized organizations within DGHT. We have 15 working groups. They do a really great work and a very good job, and without them, DGHT would be nothing. So one of my main goals was to have a good contact with them and to uh, also to identify common goals within DGHT. One working group maybe has to another, or what we have in common, and the second thing is how we can. The second big question was how we can communicate our ideas of experienced private breeders, the role of experienced private breeders, their contribution to species conservation, their contributions to gaining of knowledge on the biology, on the reproductive biology of amphibians and reptiles. How can we reunite that big knowledge, that enormous knowledge, and how can we communicate this to the stakeholders who are taking decisions on private breeding, on private husbandry of animals? And this was, I think, my most important task to identify strategies how we can communicate that impressive knowledge of private breeders to the public, but also and in special to the political stakeholders.
Yeah, great one. I think you already explained a little bit what a society like the DGHT could do for the hobby and what the impact that it can have. I did wonder, you joined the DGHT in 96, you said.
Yes, yes.
What was for you the reason to join?
For me, in fact, I have to admit again that this was a very good input on first on my supervisor, Paul Müller, who had already given some talks in the 1960s as a student, and he inspired me to do that too, to join DGHT as a very good and competent organization, the largest one all over the world of that kind. And the second inspiration really came from Gunther Köhler from the Frankfurt-Senckenberg Museum. I made my masterwork on the historical biogeography of the herpetofauna of the Bay Islands. And before I did that work, I have been there at 1994, and I had the opportunity to accompany a trip of Frankfurt scientists there. And the leader of that group was Gunther Köhler, and he gave me that advice to join DGHT. He was the leader of the iguana specialist group. So I joined, and I really was very happy to be within that group of people of the same hobby, of the same interests. and we met frequently yes, the first meetings were that of the iguana specialist group, and then my first annual meeting was the very first contact with the big players on DGHT, and I really fell in love with that organization, and I stayed there, and in 2 years I will have 30 years
Oh, yeah.
membership. I'm looking forward to the silver salamander.
Oh, did you get a little memento or?
Yes, that's
Oh,
it. You
that's
will get
beautiful. Almost 33% of the existence of DGHT, you've been a part of it.
yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
30 years, the silver one, and the other one for 20 years, and then we have some special greetings and a book present for 50 years membership. This is really rare. Not many people reach that mark of 50 years of membership, but some do.
Yeah. So almost 30 years ago when the way we like gained information and got in contact with fellow hobbyists and people with the same interest and maybe animals, joining a society then was one of the most impactful ways, I think, to come in contact with like-minded, compared to maybe a day and age where we live now, where getting in contact with fellow hobbyists often goes via, at least a little bit younger generation, goes via social media, I would say. I wonder, the people that join the society now, is it staying still for the same reason, or do you notice a difference in maybe how do I say that, incentive to
No,
like,
I understand what you're asking. Yes, I
yeah,
understand. When I'm not very old, it may be a time that people had still other incentives to join an organization like DGHT, to for example, as the only platform, the only place where you could exchange ideas and information, if not written by a letter, between experienced breeders. But I think this part has survived in a certain way, because today you have also meetings where you have an exchange of ideas that you will not find in Wikipedia, will not find in any published or peer-reviewed journal, because it's just not published. It's the so-called gray literature, if it was published or not. Only the experience by some people that they just communicate to each other like a heritage. But this little part has survived, I think. And another thing is, you have to. It's clear that you have to to offer some new things to new members facing the age of social media. So I think the reason why someone is joining an organization could also be, in my opinion, is still to be among other people, other private breeders, to talk, to have a good time, to look for books. Do you have that book or not? What are you thinking on that? I could not, for example, I could not breed these or these species. What are you doing? Because you are keeping them the same time, and so on. And this is interesting that this reason, I think, did not change very much, because you could imagine that today, where you find anything, almost anything at the internet, at published journals, uh, you almost do not have any reason to join DGHT, if not being among other enthusiasts and among other people who of the same hobby. Um, but you spoke about social media, and this was especially valuable contribution that our social media team uh, did for DGHT, as we had I was very proud. We found some very young members. For example, our advisor for social media and youth, it is Leandro Bergmann, was only 15 years old when he joined us, and one of the youngest members, and he does an enormous work. He does such a great job. You cannot imagine, but you can imagine because you know his contributions. And we have some other people of his age doing a great job, and we are really proud because not many organizations can say of themselves that they have a social media team which is for 90% under 20 years old, because they know how social media goes and how it does not go. So I think this is a very important thing, to just leave this issue with them. They know what to do, how to reach community, how to reach public, and what to post and what to post not. I'm really very glad that we could find them, and for that important work.
Yeah, Leandro, by the way, for the listeners, also made it possible to connect us with Markus, because I
Absolutely.
firstly texted like I think the I think I had the first contact with Axel Quet, and he connected me with Leandro, and Leandro connected me with Markus. So that was very helpful. You can see everything's webbed together.
Yeah.
So thanks to Leandro. And
Maybe I can add one important story, that our chairman Axel Quaid is not only was not only or is only not only our chair, but also a good friend from my time in Brazil. We did some research together in Brazil because I could join his group, his working group in Brazil, and I was a single researcher, while Axel was part of the Tübingen research group. They had a big project in South Brazil, and so I organized my trips to Brazil at the same time when he was there, and I learned very much of him, and it was a great time with him in the field because he was working on amphibians, I was working on reptiles. So we had a lovely time in Brazil together. That was also part of the tradition and part to get me nearer to DGHT.
sounds amazing. Yeah, the point that Stefan made with the social media and all the informations out there, that makes it very easy to be just one of the, I would name it, quiet members of a community or a society like this, because I think I became a member of DGHT around 2021 or 2022, so pretty late in my time in the hobby. But I was just like consuming the Elafe
Very
and
good.
reading a little every now and then, and just yeah, not actively contributing. But when I hear all the things you tell us, really makes me want to get more in contact and not just be one of the quiet parts. But I feel like this also helped you a lot uh, to yeah, build up deep friendships and
Yeah,
gain a lot of
definitely.
knowledge and contacts, right?
And I think it's the DGHT is also something like a trip, not something like a friendship trip organization, because we have some traditional groups who always make field trips together all over the world. The African groups, the North African groups, the Southeast Asia groups, and a little less where I am part of the South American groups, and they're always making trips together. So and then they gain that knowledge, they improve their own knowledge, and they contribute so much to our knowledge on amphibians and reptiles and landscapes and everything, and they have become extreme specialists. You have some of the members who are not formally biologists, but they do know almost everything, or much more than anybody who has studied biology. They are just great specialists, and they are uh, uh, also consulted when, for example, famous scientists all over the world do some publication. They are co-authors or are ask for information or input, and that's great. And within the scientific community, I think DGHT has a very good reputation. And as you showed, Elafe, this was also for me at the beginnings was very nice to have this little. It was the little Elafe at that time. So I could always extract some valuable information for my studies on biogeography. When I was a student, I had some special knowledge that I could take from there and present it to my supervisor. So this was who is also a herpetologist. So I think that was not bad.
Very cool. Yeah. One another question that I was thinking of, also before we started the meeting, do you see like with the younger generations, do you see like a change of the the amount of members that are joining? Because with some societies, you hear that they get older and older and get less and less more new members.
We have, in fact, the loss of members in general has been a problem, not in recent years, but in the years before. Now we are really happy that we have, in the last 2 or 3 years, we have more members that join DGHT than members that leave it or pass away, leaving by just passing away. This is
Mhm.
also a problem. But we have still a normal Gauss distribution. And when I look at the visitors of the annual meeting, there are some good. I think the younger age is good represented for especially by the scientific groups, not very much by the terroristic groups, but the breeders groups. This could be a little bit more, but I think do not have a problem that we have really only very old people and that we are not gaining young people. But in fact, we also have to admit, for example, when we have some very engaged young people, for example, students in school that are keeping reptiles and amphibians, they are often alone. I ask them, when you are at school, do you have friends who want to join that hobby too? If you do it and you show it, you are a young man. Do your friends, for example, also want to join DGHE? And they tell me, no, I'm really almost alone. They look at it a little bit interested, but they do not. This is not a mass migration to DGHT because one of them is doing or is having a terrarium. But what helps is, for example, some terroristic activity in schools. We have a school vivaristics pushed by engaged teachers. This is helping very much to gain young people and to not only to DGHT but in general to yes to improve or to this interest in nature in general, species conservation, nature, and so on, because this is we are losing that more and more.
Yeah, that's good to hear because I feel like right now it's even more, or it's getting more and more important to have like strong organizations that are also politically active. Because before we talked more about like the together part, the scientific parts, but also I feel like societies like the DGHT are very important for like representing the hobby in the politics. And we talked about this before in the podcast, like the positive lists are getting more and more, uh, realistic, I think, at least in Europe. And it's we need someone to fight for it, right?
Yes, absolutely. This positive lists are a topic you could talk about 1 hour or two in one podcast
Yeah.
only on that only topic. I think it was this issue accompanied my presidency from the beginning until the end. What we see now, I think the discussion is a little bit, how can I say that? The discussion is a little bit annoying because it has been discussed from right to left, from up to down. I think all arguments are exchanged, and in the meantime, almost any politician knows the arguments for or against a positive list. You know that DGHT has always represented the part of the society against positive list, because for us it's not an instrument to improve animal. It's not improve something like the well-being of animals or something like that, because you have just a list of species that you declare, that politics is declaring that you cannot keep and breed that or that species. How do they know that? They cannot have that knowledge. And if someone has the space, the time, and the money to provide all requirements a species has, why should this person not be allowed to keep that species? This is just not logical, and I think this position is getting more and more convincing also within politics, because we have strong regulations and laws in nature conservation, species conservation, animal husbandry, that we just have to improve. We have to improve it, okay? We have to define some aspects. What is a good, what does good keeping mean? And we have a lot of work ahead of us to do for defining these aspects. But I think positive lists are just the wrong instrument, and we have fought against that for many, many years. And I think now it's up to a decision at the European level, because we had some activities at the European level, but I think we will hear from it again and again. But I cannot make any look into the future when we will hear from it again. I would be happy if this topic will be sleeping, because you will also, by positive list, you would also have a problem with species conservation projects, and all these things, all these results that are not thought about when politicians just speak very easily on that instrument. But at the other hand, it's important that organizations like DGHT provide good advice to politics, provide their results of offspring statistics, for example, to prove that we can breed and reproduce this or this species, and at a really good quality level. So this is important, that organizations, animal breeding organizations, are not only fighting against some decisions or ideas, but that they are part of a good solution to resolve a problem that may become important, that they give advice, that they have contact to politicians, that they work together. This is one of the most important aspects, that not one organization works for itself, but that animal keeping organizations join, and for example, as we have done it many times, some position papers with many other organizations of similar kind. So this is, I think, a good way to prove a serious and high quality contribution to resolve problems, instead of just being against something.
Yeah. It's an interesting topic. I definitely don't want to get too more in the positive list, but to me, it's a little bit fresh because we just got the positive list for mammals, and they're now talking about reptiles. And Yeah, the organizations within the Netherlands, except for one or two, especially the herpetoculture societies like Lacerta, have yeah, they're not as present. I think that's a right way to say it. And yeah, so but if you don't have a strong society like that, like who's gonna represent you in a positive manner, as you just said? So yeah, yeah. Do maybe I don't know. I just thought of this listening to you and what you talked about. Sometimes on the podcast we discuss the difference between European herpetoculture, which I think is a very rich and interesting culture, and for instance, one of the United States. And one of the things I always said is that um, I feel like in Europe there's a lot of beautiful and incredible things happening within herpetoculture, but that the average European reptile keeper or amphibian keeper or whatever is relatively private when it comes to showing what they are doing, sharing that knowledge, and I'm glad to hear that that's one of the most yeah, valuable things of a society. I think that you get more in depth and that information. But um, yeah, do you think that almost privacy that we create and that not making contact with or showing what incredible things are being done, does that maybe should it be done more
Yes.
to show that how what is actually been done and the impact that a serious and a hobbyist can have?
Yeah, absolutely. This was the big problem of the last years because a normal politician normally does never know what a private keeper of amphibians or reptiles are doing. This seems to them a very strange thing until the day they visit uh, a private breeder and get some more contact to them. This is not only not always easy, but you have to have that network of politicians at the local level, at the states level, at the national level. You can just, and you will see that some of the politicians are uh, in rare cases, but in good cases, are biologists too, have
Mm,
been former private breeders too. But they can open many good doors to other politicians, their colleagues who are not private breeders. But if that one politician says, okay, I have been to the collection of U2, for example, it was a really good thing. Everything was fine, animal well-being, everything very good. And they have published some articles on the reproductive biology. And the other politician who had a complete different opinion the day before maybe changes his opinion into saying, "Oh, I did not know that. Tell me more." And that's how politics works. And this is the most very important thing. So have been so glad that our national enforcement authority, our national scientific authority, the Bundesamt für Naturschutz, the BfN, has chosen DGHT for the third time now to contribute to a big or to make a big publication on the private the breeding potential of amphibians and reptiles that have been listed at the CITES COPs uh, every time before, the CITES COP 18, 19, and now 20. So we could show what as you have said, what has already been done in the years before to contribute to the knowledge on the private breeding potential and to give some help always also to customs officers to discern between individuals who have probably uh, been in private husbandry or have probably been taken from nature. So this
mm,
is so important. These to publish it, not only to tell it, but also to publish it and give it to the decision makers. And we have done this two times now, a very, very good and heavy publication. So I think this gives some impression, and it shows another aspect that it's also important to work together with the national authorities at the local level, at the states level, at the national level. And when you have proven to be a reliable partner, a good partner, a serious partner, it's extremely difficult to tell the opposite from another side, because they have made that experience with you, and this good experience have to be kept over years and years. And this is also very important to yes, to consider that you are considered as a partner and not as an opponent to anything, but as a partner, as a source of knowledge, and in general as a partner for species conservation at the
Mm.
national level and worldwide.
Yeah, maybe a partner of reason
Yeah,
almost. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm just looking at Till.
And I just wanted to say I really like the approach of like as easy as it sounds, like taking a politician, putting it with responsible breeders, because I feel like in the general public, us reptiles keepers often have like kind of a bad reputation. And yeah, with this case where we had this um, in the part in Germany where I'm living, North Rhine-Westphalia, there are venomous snakes, mostly prohibited, and this all based on one cobra escaping. And I think in cases like this, it is very hard and difficult to tell the public, calm down, this is an exception, because in this case, everyone's seeing the danger and
yeah.
the bad,
But
yeah, bad things.
it's one example of the most yes, it one this is one example of bad politics,
Yeah,
because you took one or two exceptions, while hundreds and thousands keepers did not make any, did not have any problems, did not cause any problems. So you are pushing them all together in a bad
yeah,
area, and you cannot just base a decision making on that, a law. You cannot do that, because it's. I do not want to discuss it in more detail, but this was really a very sad and bad example. But it happens, and it proves that we have even more show that we are yes, we are remaining good partners to them
Yeah.
also today. And I think this law will be re-evaluated soon, and we will see what will happen. So it's
I
yeah,
do think that incident is a great example also of like the shared responsibility we have as a society. And of course, you cannot impact individuals, but when it comes to indeed, as you said, publishing and showing the positive sides and coming out of it, I do think like a lot of people keep herpetoculture. I know when I was in school, I was the weird one with the snakes. Don't know if you have experienced this. And it was also indeed for the general public. Let's call it like that. For the squares, no, it is. It is.
but
When you first say it, like, yeah, I keep a snake at home. The first reaction is, of course, like, that's odd. And if you then don't have this positive voice and something, whatever negative happens, of course,
yeah,
that's gonna,
but
yeah,
the
be
first
the
reaction is, oh my
representation.
God. I had many times I had the reaction, a snake, oh my God. But please, can I see it once?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
yeah.
so the
some
interest was great.
curiosity.
And then, and the question that was most astonishing, was the most surprising, was, do you have the snakes free in your apartment?
Hmm.
Free
Classic.
living snakes in your apartment? Uh, This idea is so crazy, that you live with a cobra that is going through your apartment, and not
Yeah.
in a terrarium, in a room, in very safe conditions. But this showed me how people are thinking on that. And it's not easy to take a politician and to put him into a uh, and to put him or get him into an apartment of a private breeder.
Hmm.
But I have to admit that I am politician at the local level, so I had very good contacts for years and decades to politicians at at the states level and also at the national level, who opened doors
Mm.
to the relevant stakeholders for our topic. I have to admit, you cannot expect that as a normal situation, but this helped very much. And my partner, the president of the aquaristic organization VDA, who he was also a professional politician and is politic advisor now. And this helped so much because we had in the different parties, we had our contacts over many years, and we could build that enormous network to the relevant persons and decision makers over many years, not only for one time and then goodbye, but over many years where we have met once, twice, and again. And so they learned who we are, what we do, and that we are many. They did not know that we are many. If you join all these organizations together, and you have many logos on your letter, it's a difference if you have three logos or 20 or 25. Despite the fact
Yeah.
that three logos might represent more members than 25, but at first sight you see, oh my God, this is a really relevant quantity of people, of electors. So maybe you are not. They will read that letter with more probably than, for example, if you have only one organization, make it alone.
Yeah. Can I ask you a little personal question, Markus?
Yes.
Okay, so because you have a job in yeah, you were president of the
Yes.
DGHT and you were also politician.
Yes.
How do you manage all these uh, very active works? Because I feel like for some people it's hard to even manage a full-time job and a private life. Uh, I'm curious, how did you make everything fit together?
4 hours of sleep per night.
Okay.
No, in fact, you have
Yeah.
to. I'm in fact, I'm not married. I'm single, so I could organize my weekends
Yeah.
like I want. But it's not easy to do because, in fact, during my presidency, I think about 70% of all weekends and 70% of the of my vacancy days were completely preoccupied by work for DGHT and every weekend at another place. But I liked it. You have to like it too. You have to like to meet the people, but it's a little bit preoccupied, and you cannot make much more. But you have to dedicate that way to really push it. And when you come again and again and again, your your counterpart will say, okay, if he comes for the second, third, fourth, fifth time, it should be or might be important what he is saying. Okay, now I give him a chance. This is also a fact, because you know that yes, and time organization, night working till night, and at the weekends, this was a normal case, normal situation.
Okay. Was this like huge workload also a reason for you to step a little bit back and say you don't run for presidency again?
In fact, yes.
Yeah.
After 9 years, uh, I decided to not now. In fact, right now, I feel to have more meetings at the evening like ever before during my presidency, but this is another story. But in fact, it's also a reason, yes, and I expect to experience this word of rest days of vacancies my colleagues are always talking about. I still don't know what this is. So this is also a reason. I think it was also good to give the job to another into other hands when I think we have some stabilized situation in DGHT. We do not we have a good how can I say that the president and the vice presidents and the advisors are working very well together. We do not have big conflicts. We have financial situation that is really very good, stabilized by our competent treasurer and all these things. And I think this is a good point to give it into other hands that the responsible person now, Professor Yoga, Uli Yoga, can begin at that stable level and develop it further.
Yeah. So good time to hand it over.
Yes.
Okay. When you look back on last 9 years, do you have some particular highlights that you like to look back to or would like to share with us and the listeners?
That's a difficult question. I have, as you can imagine, there were a big number of highlights, which can be the very comfortable and nice situation when looking at the frog in the terrarium. These are also highlights for me. But when you asked me for meetings, in fact, there were some really impressive situations during the CITES meetings, the COPs, the Conference of the Parties. For example, in Panama, where I could meet the former president of Colombia. These are moments you will never forget. And these are really, you meet interesting persons, but you see that these important and famous persons are at the same time normal people who talk with you and share the same, in fact, share the same interest. Because, for example, this former president of Colombia gave a talk on how to build national parks over frontiers between
Yeah.
two countries, and this was very interesting. So we were all working on and talking of the same ideas, the same issue, and yes, I have to say that these were fairly impressive moments and situations. And yes, I think when I think about, there will come more memories on special moments, but this was one of them, without a doubt.
Okay. Do you already miss your time as president? But right now it sounds like you're very busy, so you don't really recognize it.
I don't I the the president, actually the current president and the vice presidents, um, they made it possible that I don't have to miss it because they
Yeah.
included me in the work
Okay.
in a very good manner, so that I remain advisor for CITES. It's called Fachbeauftragter in German.
Okay.
We have the advisors, the vice president, the advisors, and the special advisors for one topic. And I have been elected as the one for CITES. I remain in citizen conservation, our big project.
Mm.
I'm linked to that, and I do some work, for example, for the different working groups. I have another project in Brazil and everything. But I think one reason to give this to retire from the presidency was also to have more time for own scientific work, for
Okay.
project
Yeah.
work, to not only to organize, but also to write herpetological on herpetological subjects, on historic subjects, to make trips and make publications of that. This was also an important reason for me.
Okay. So you are more likely stepping away from this representative
Yes,
figure, but getting more hands-on experience again and
Absolutely.
being active in the DGHT
To
will
the
also
roots
be,
again. Yes, back to
yeah,
the roots.
very, very cool, very fascinating. Um, when you think of that's also like a hard question, I can imagine. I don't want to jump into this direction of positive lists again, but when you think of like the future of the hobby and maybe even the future of the DGHT, do you have like wishes in which direction these things would develop in your ideal case?
Yes, yes. I think it's not good to give some advice to the people who are in charge now, but only if they're asked me. But nevertheless, I want to give one important advice. Keep the good companies and the good cooperation to our partner organizations, and try to hold together the community within DGHT. It's not, you cannot always be of the same opinion, that's clear. But do not let to develop this to big conflicts, but always be aware of the common goal, private breeders' interests, and to communicate them to stakeholders, to decision makers, and to consider DGHT as it was for me, a big family. Like a big family, you see many friends, many persons again and again and again. It's something like a parallel family. So this familiar character is one of the really of the powerful characters, a powerful of the powerful aspects of DGHT that we should keep, and also the good contact to our partner organizations. And I think if this will be done, we will see private terroristics, high quality breeding of amphibians and reptiles still in 150 years. I have no doubt.
Yeah, especially with the technologies becoming better and better and more
Yes.
affordable, it's only going to be easier.
It's a nice positive note in sometimes the yeah, all the news around it. I really like the question too. I had a similar question, and you answered this very nicely, also specifically for the DGSD. But I do also wonder then what your like your hope or vision would be for or what for like herpetoculture in Europe itself, and how private keepers can actually maybe help or contribute to having a more positive representation of what we are doing. I almost want to say, like joining a society can help,
Yes.
maybe writing articles, because I can imagine that the average just private keeper won't do a lot of real scientific work. So there are some absolute great like nerds in the most positive way. But yeah, is there anything you hope to see there or hope to see continue? Maybe good things that are already happening.
Yes, as you said it absolutely correctly. Many private breeders have an enormous knowledge, but they do not publish it. So, and many publish it. And the task of DGHT, for example, or organizations like that, is to get this big knowledge to the right counterparts. But uh, private breeders should begin at the local level, not try to convince, for example, in Europe, the state's president, but the local representative of the local decision maker, the local person that is responsible, for example, be it the national, be it the authority, or be it the political level, just to make, for example, little talks, give some talks at the local level. For example, make some exhibitions in cooperation with the state's authority, and so on. And then this idea grows and grows and grows. You cannot, at first sight, you cannot make the big deal all over any institutions. But I think if you when you start at the local level and visitors tell each other and other people from these good experiences, this might be the beginning of a movement in a very positive way,
Mm.
of an information transferring into the big decision makers at the end.
Yeah. Sounds like great advice. Because like I can also imagine that the average person has no idea to even communicate with a bigger political organization. So the inception maybe is better.
This was a problem for us too, that sometimes, not very often, but sometimes people told me, "Oh, you are playing with the big players there, and what does this, what do I have to do with that?" And I told them, without you, I could not tell anything to that big player. You are doing the basic work that gives us the chance to convince and to to convince these people and to show them what is being done at that basic level, and this large amount of knowledge gaining on reproductive biology, on ecology, and so on, and also on at the as to the projects at local level. For example, we have some nature protection projects at the local level that have a big tradition for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And our task is to tell political decision makers this is going on. What is, for example, important for species protection by law is done already by that or that organization at the local level. So please keep on doing that, and let's exchange the ideas and the information so that we are able to convince and to tell these other big players from what you are doing at the local level. This is linked to each other almost directly.
I think that's a good thing for like the average private keeper to maybe hear,
Yes,
because you sometimes don't really know your like position in the whole scheme of things.
but this is the which is called swarm intelligence. At
Hmm. The hive mind.
yeah,
Yeah. Like getting back to like the membership in the DGHT, what would you do you have any advices for people that are new, that are joining the DGHT, and are maybe like a little afraid to get in contact? Because I know from myself, sometimes it's like, okay, yeah, you're a member, you're like quiet on that one, just reading some articles every now and then, but you would like to engage more. But think, yeah, if you are a little bit shy and go to a conference, you're like, okay, no, I'm here alone. Nobody talks to me. Do you think it's easy within the DGHT to get to know new people?
absolutely, yes. And I have, even if you don't trust me, I have been very shy when I was about 19 years old. I was a shy student that I was thinking, okay, if when I ask this question, that's a completely stupid question. But first, you have to see there are no stupid questions. If you have a stupid question, the one who gave the talk did not explain it very well. So that's my opinion. And please, as a new member, as a young member, it's a little bit easy to say, but don't be shy and contact uh, the yes the advisors, the vice presidents, the presidents. They have to be there for you. They are
Yeah,
not higher persons or beings. They are all in the community of that big family DGHE, and they have to be there for you. And they are really glad when you talk to them. This is what this experience I have ever made, and I think I hope that I have also contributed that to that atmosphere to be considered as a partner, as a friend, as one yes part of the same family of enthusiasts for herbs, and yes, I think that's important. Even if I know that's not easy for young people. But think of Leandro Bergman, who gave a talk with 16 on
Wow.
Bombina, and later he was asked, you are the one with Bombina. So Bombina, Bergman, it was linked, and that's the beginning, might be the beginning of a big career. I have I would have never been able to give a talk like him in on our last meeting before in Neustadt on Bombina like he did. It was really very encouraged, and I was impressed. Someone of that
Very.
age giving a talk of that quality in time, exactly in time, and then later on he was linked to that genus Bombina.
Oh,
That
that's
was the
great.
big result.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Great job. Very cool. Maybe the Terroristica, the expo would also be a good chance to get in contact if you are not you're not sure to go like to a big meeting, because
Yeah,
at
absolutely.
the Terroristica there's always the DGHT tent
Yeah.
where members can get in contact and talk to others and get their entry thing. So maybe this could also be a chance to meet some new
Already a
people,
great
right?
reason to join the DGHT, a nice heated tent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
We
for example, in a local group of DGHT, we have many of them, more than 30, and 15 specialist groups. I think this is unique
yeah.
among the zoologists organizations, that we have 15 specialist groups like IUCN, what not exactly like them, but at a a little lower level. But DGHT is offering an enormous variety of specialized groups who are many times among them. They have their annual meetings almost any time at the same place, which gives some tradition and a good feeling, and you see the same persons again and learn to know other persons. I think this might be also a good start for becoming more engaged in the big DGHT.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great to know. Maybe some of the listeners got the attention here. Maybe
Yeah.
you can, yeah, become a
Okay.
member or get in contact. Um, Marcus, like the big reptile expos like Terroristica still interesting for you, or because you are very science focused, do you still go there, or do you
I,
stay away from that?
I promise I will go there again more often now because no, it's for sure. For example, you have directors of zoological gardens. They're selling animals there.
Ah,
So the
Dr.
aspect
Michael
of
Schwertfeger, for example.
the aspect of good advice at an animal fair, which
Yeah.
has been one of the most important critique points. You cannot get good advice from the seller. That's this aspect has been erased by the fact that, for example, one director of a zoological garden in Germany had been selling animals there, and he can give very good advice. And you you know that we had this sorry, this DGHT tent was
Mm.
um, one of our tradition for many years. We had two people, two members of our chairboard there to accompany that. So I have not been there for a longer time. It's a shame on me, please, shame on me. But I will go there. I will visit this expo again, but in some years ago, I think some 20 years ago, we were there frequently, and this was like Christmas for us to see these wonderful yes, this I should say this quality, and in fact, my supervisor had been there too, Professor Müller, in the not in the 2000s, and so you see that from the private breeder goes there, the university professor goes there. It's everything up to good quality private breeding. This is the most important thing. What you are doing with that animal, this is the most important thing. If it's kept in a good manner or not. This is just the question.
Yeah. Will you be there this December?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I don't know
Text
yet.
me if you go. I think I will be
I
there.
knew
I
it.
don't know yet. It's still no. You know that November and December are the 2 months with the most meetings as to
Um,
local politics too, and this is extremely overloaded.
yeah.
So we'll
Oh
see.
dear. Okay, we'll see. But now it's becoming dangerous there at the expo for you because now you have space and time again for
Yes,
new
that's it.
animals.
Absolutely. Like in the
Yeah.
bookstore, or with herpetological books.
Hmm.
When you think of Chimaya, you cannot go there you cannot go out there without. And every time you go there, oh, this day, this time, I will not buy a lot of books. Buy even more, and I do never regret this because buying books on herpetology and especially historic books is one of the most beautiful and lucky thing you can do. This is really, yes, it's for the own well-being.
Nice.
Great, yeah.
Yeah.
As you can see in your background for those who are
Yes,
watching the
this
video.
is a little part. Yes, I think I have some thousands of books because I'm collecting. I have been collecting books since I was a student, and this is more than 30 years. So I have something at house. Yes, in my house.
But I do, first off, I think that also is a nice representation of how much value you put into people publishing their work and scientific work and just bring it out there. But also, I think it shows that this what we are doing is bigger than just putting a snake in a box.
Yeah,
You know, that there's so much connected to it. You've talked about connecting with your fellow hobbyists and scientific work and citizen conservation and learning about all that other stuff. I think that's a great example of how all-consuming this almost can be sometimes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's you know the situation that many private breeders do trips into the natural habitat of their animals they are keep at home just to see where they live, to improve their conditions at home, or to do some research on them, and they become specialists on a certain animal group or a group of reptiles or amphibians.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
More
another,
than any
sorry.
university could ever do, because you do not have specialist groups on, for example, on a special genus of reptile at the university group. This is too narrow, too small for them. They have to provide a larger variety. But in many cases, these groups are working together with that private specialist and publish together with them. And this is the what I have called the joining of knowledge from the private sector and the university sector. And that's the basic philosophy of DGHT when it was founded as DGHT in 1964.
Yeah. Did you, it's somewhat of a different question, maybe also from your like personal headspace also, that did you ever like have had some struggles with the ethics of keeping animals in this time? Like, did you ever were questioning yourself, are we doing the right thing when we keep animals in captivity?
In fact, no, because I think you can, this basic ethic question is very difficult because you are against it, or you are an opponent or a proponent. You cannot just, if you are against it, in general, you can never discuss about quality of
Mhm.
animal well-being. You you cannot just yes, if you are against, for example, if you are against cars, you cannot discuss on the quality of the wheels. This is
Because
just
the idea of
an empty
even having
discussion.
a car, yeah.
And if you are a proponent of private husbandry, you have to do it in a way that uh, that fits the respective laws,
Mhm.
and that is providing some how can I say that, some basic aspects of quality that you have to develop more and more, improve it more and more, uh, such as the basic conditions we have developed in 1997, or now the guidelines we have published on the private breeding of amphibian and nuance species. So this is our horizon to keep in mind. How can we improve and always provide the best conditions, looking at the requirements of the respective species? I think this is the basic idea.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that insight. I also think like animal keeping won't go away, and if we would, yeah, forbid it or forbid everything, everything would, yeah, of course it would become less, but it would be shifting into like the
Yeah,
black market, and
absolutely.
then it's completely out of control, like maybe with venomous animals where they are prohibited.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
It's
Cool.
funny,
Very.
yeah.
Yeah.
When I had a lot of venomous snakes, like you said, I often had, like, for universities that were looking for venom from a certain species,
Yes.
they will always go to the private keepers to collect all that.
One
So,
of my
yeah.
one of my first contacts was it was long before I became president, in the year 2001. We had a very nice meeting with Brian Fry, who is
Yeah.
collecting every time. And Freek Wonk came to me and asked me, "Oh, please, can I go with you?" And Freek was and is a friend, yes, and we had some good contact and made some trips to private keepers to, yes, to see their collection and to take some venom samples. Who is now a star, a TV star in Netherlands?
Yeah, oh
Ah,
man,
okay.
I think every Dutch snake keeper
Yeah,
that's a bit enthusiastic because Freek has
yeah,
energy, he exudes like this,
yeah, yeah,
he's
absolutely.
there, and every snake keeper in the Netherlands is like, oh, you look a little bit or you're active. It's all that's like the standard,
Yes.
especially for the people that don't know, that are not in the hobby, but are interested, just open or curious. That's always the guy they refer to. It's so funny. Yeah.
I would love to see him again. It's a long time ago, many years ago.
Very
Okay.
cool. All right. I think we are coming to, we are already pretty long talking. I think we could talk about other things like forever. But before we wrap this up, Stefan, do you still have some questions open?
No, I was very curious about our talk, and I think it gave a great insight into DGHT, his part almost in herpetoculture and what they are doing a little bit. Of course, there's many topics you can go in deeply, and I think making the podcast, but also the videos for the channel, has shown that most people, once you start talking to them in this manner, you can feel that they're almost like craving that, like, oh yeah, this is the type of talk I want to have, and that's something you don't get on looking at pictures of social media or a YouTube
Sure.
video. And I think you very nicely explained what value joining a society can also have there, the more substance almost.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
I hope we could contribute to that. And sorry for my voice and my general state this day is not very healthy because sometimes this happens also to me, and
Yeah.
so
But yeah,
but I hope
but
we could
I think you did
give
very
some good
great.
advice. And
Um,
yes,
do you still have something you would like to share, Marcus? We already know what direction you're heading to, like more publishing societies and building up a collection again.
I think we had shared so many ideas, and we made a good trip throughout the major aspects of what DGHT is, was, and can be in the future. I'm really lucky to be part of that family, and I hope to be able to contribute much more in the years to come. And it's this kind of comfortable feeling when you are among your fellow keepers and friends, and this is I think this from this feeling you get a certain strength to struggle to tackle all problems or challenges that come to the private husbandry. So this is I hope to be able to enjoy this comfortable feeling and to do some more scientific herpetological work. But I have to thank you so much and to admire your work. Your work is so important, and it's this is one of the examples for yes for engagement uh, that we need also within DGHT, and it's great what you are doing with us. So um, it's for you. It's also a dedication of time, of your private time. So I can also express my sympathy and my respect to your work, and to say thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. We will, of course, also link
Danke.
all the socials and links for the DGHT.
Yeah.
But are there also channels on social media where you will post about your journey, or will it be most likely in journals?
In fact, I'm only looking at Instagram,
Yeah.
in fact, like crazy, like a teenager, but
Okay.
I do not post anything.
Do you want to
So
share
I
your
will publish it
account
more. No,
here?
I will going on to publish it in journals, but who knows? Why not doing that also at the social media? Why not? Yes, when I
Do
come
you
back
have
from the
like
next trip.
an Instagram name we should tag, or is it nameless yet?
It's my own. In fact, I do not remember the exact name. It's only me now. I'm only looking, not only, but I'm looking at the official DGHT channel, and I think we have anything which is important will be posted there. I will make a trip. It's planned to make a trip 3 weeks to Brazil, to the
Nice.
tropical savanna, to Campo Cerrado, with my old friend Antonio Bordinho, who is venomous snake advisor near Sao Paulo, and he wanted to make a project with me, and I would be lucky to talk about that when we are back.
That
Nice.
would be cool for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. We would love to have you on again.
yeah,
If you like
including
something.
anaconda and all these nice things. We will see
Awesome.
what
Yeah.
happens, and yes, I'm looking forward to that.
All right. That's
Thank you so much for joining, Marcus.
yes, thanks a lot.
I
I
have to
really,
thank.
really enjoyed it. And to our listeners, go check out DGHT. We will link everything. And if you have questions, don't hesitate. Just ask, and we will try our best to answer and connect you. So thanks a lot, and goodbye.
Thank you
Auf
very much.
Wiedersehen.
Goodbye.